You are not stuck because life is unfair. You are stuck because you keep choosing the same reactions, the same habits, the same excuses. Every day feels different, but your decisions are identical. And identical decisions create identical lives. This audiobook is not here to motivate you. It is here to expose the loop you're trapped in. And more importantly, to show you how to break it. You don't need a new life. You need new decisions. That's the key. Chapter 1, You are living on autopilot. Most people think they are choosing their lives. They are not. They are repeating them. You wake up. You reach for your phone. You react to messages. You follow the same emotional patterns. You delay the same tasks. You avoid the same discomfort. And at the end of the day, you tell yourself a story. I was busy. I didn't have time. I wasn't in the mood. But the truth is simpler. You didn't choose. You ran on autopilot? That's the trap. Autopilot feels safe because it is familiar. Your brain prefers what it knows, even if what it knows is keeping you stuck. That's the key. You don't repeat your life because it works. You repeat it because it's familiar. And familiarity is addictive. Every emotional reaction you repeat becomes automatic. Every excuse you repeat becomes believable. Every delay you repeat becomes normal. If you don't choose, your habits will choose for you. Read that again. Slowly. If you don't choose, your habits will choose for you. You are not weak. You are unintentional. That's the difference. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence. They fail because they never interrupt the pattern. They react instead of respond. They scroll instead of focus. They delay instead of decide. And they call it personality. It's just how I am. No. It's what you've repeated. That's the key. Autopilot removes responsibility. And the brain loves that. Because when you don't choose, you don't feel guilty. You feel justified. I didn't plan to waste time, it just happened. No. You allowed it. You have a choice. You always have a choice. But autopilot hides that choice. Let's be clear. Autopilot is not random. It follows rules. Rule 1, avoid discomfort. Rule 2, seek relief. Rule 3, repeat yesterday. That's it. That's how lives stay the same for years. You tell yourself you want change. But your daily actions vote for the same result. And the mind obeys the most repeated command. Not the loudest desire. The most repeated behavior. That's the key. Look at your reactions. Not your goals. When something goes wrong, do you pause, or react? When something feels hard, do you lean in, or delay? When you feel bored, do you create, or consume? Those answers tell the truth. Autopilot thrives on emotion-driven behavior. You feel tired, so you stop. You feel bored, so you escape. You feel resistance, so you postpone. And every time you obey that feeling, the loop strengthens. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. Say it again. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. Motivation is emotional. Autopilot feeds on emotion. Discipline is conscious. Autopilot collapses under consciousness. That's the key. Most people wait to feel ready before acting. That's autopilot thinking. Strong minds act first, then feelings follow. You don't need their permission. Not your emotions. Not your pasts. Not anyone's. You don't need to feel confident to act. You don't need to feel motivated to begin. You need to interrupt the pattern. Right now. Autopilot says, later. Discipline says, now. Autopilot says, just this once. Discipline says, this is the moment. Autopilot says, I'll start tomorrow. Discipline says, tomorrow is built today. If you don't choose, your habits will choose for you. This is why people feel stuck even when they work hard. Because effort without awareness just reinforces the loop. You can work hard? At the wrong things. At the wrong time. With the wrong reactions. And get nowhere. That's the trap. Awareness is the first crack in the system. The moment you notice the urge to react and pause, autopilot weakens. The moment you notice the urge to delay and act anyway, control returns. You don't need to change everything. You need to catch one moment. One reaction interrupted. One delay refused. One conscious decision made under pressure. That's how control is built. Not through massive change. Through small interruptions. Autopilot hates interruption. Because interruption creates choice. And choice creates responsibility. You have a choice. Right now. You can continue to live unconsciously. Or you can start noticing. Notice how often you act without deciding. Notice how often you say yes by default. Notice how often you escape instead of engage. Don't judge it. Observe it. Awareness first. Discipline second. That's the order. Trying to force discipline without awareness is like steering a car with your eyes closed. Open your eyes. Your habits are not random. They are rehearsed. And rehearsed behavior becomes automatic. That's why autopilot feels natural. But natural does not mean correct. Comfort is natural. Progress is chosen. That's the key. This chapter is not asking you to change your life. It's asking you to stop pretending you're choosing it. Because once you see the autopilot, you can't unsee it. And once you see it, you gain power. You have a choice. Interrupt the loop. Just once today. Pause before reacting. Act before negotiating. Choose discomfort over delay. Because if you don't choose, your habits will choose for you. You are not broken. You are running a program. And programs can be rewritten. You've seen the autopilot. Now it's time to talk about why repetition itself isn't the enemy. You are ready for the next truth. Chapter 2, Repetition is not bad, unconscious repetition is. Most people misunderstand repetition. They think repetition is the enemy. It's not. Repetition is the foundation of everything that works. Skill is repetition. Strength is repetition. Discipline is repetition. The problem is not routine. The problem is mindless routine. That's the key. Your life is already built on repetition. You wake up the same way. You think the same thoughts. You react the same way. You avoid the same discomfort. So no, you don't lack repetition. You lack intentional repetition. And there is a massive difference. Unconscious repetition builds prisons. Conscious repetition builds power. What you repeat without awareness becomes your prison. Say it again. What you repeat without awareness becomes your prison. Look at your mornings. Not your ambitions. Same alarm. Same phone. Same scrolling. Same rush. Same mental fog. Different goals. Same behavior. And then confusion. Why isn't my life changing? Because repetition without direction only deepens the groove you're already stuck in. That's the trap. Your brain doesn't care if repetition is good or bad. It only cares if it's familiar. So it repeats what you feed it. Scroll long enough, it becomes default. Avoid long enough, it becomes identity. Delay long enough, it becomes who you are. It's not about laziness. It's about conditioning. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. That's the key. Most people repeat what feels easy. Strong people repeat what builds control. Same mechanism. Different direction. You have a choice. You can repeat comfort. Or you can repeat discipline. Both require repetition. Only one leads somewhere. Unconscious repetition feels effortless. Because it's emotional. You don't think before you scroll. You don't plan before you avoid. You don't decide before you react. You just do. That's autopilot reinforced. Conscious repetition feels uncomfortable at first. Because it interrupts emotion. Waking up and not touching your phone. Starting work without waiting to feel ready. Choosing silence instead of reaction. Those actions feel wrong at first. Because they're unfamiliar. But unfamiliar is not dangerous. It's just new. That's the key. Your brain resists intentional repetition because it demands presence. And presence exposes weakness. When you act intentionally, excuses lose power. There's no one to blame. No emotion to hide behind. Just choice. You have a choice. Most people don't want freedom. They want comfort with progress. That doesn't exist. Progress requires repeating discomfort on purpose. Not once. Not twice. Daily. This is where discipline separates from chaos. Discipline is not intensity. It's structure. Discipline is not force. It's consistency. Discipline is choosing the same correct action, even when nothing feels different. That's the key. Unconscious repetition says, I'll do it when I feel like it. Conscious repetition says, I do it because I decided. You don't need their permission. Not your moods. Not your pasts. Not anyone's. You decide the loop. Look at any person you admire. They are not more motivated than you. They are more intentional. They repeat fewer things, but they repeat them deliberately. Same wake-up time. Same work window. Same rules under pressure. They don't improvise their lives. They execute them. Most people improvise, and call it freedom. But improvisation without discipline creates chaos. Chaos disguised as flexibility. That's the prison. What you repeat without awareness becomes your prison. Scroll. Avoid. React. Repeat. Years disappear that way. The solution is not to eliminate repetition. It's to redesign it. You don't need a new life. You need a new loop. Start small. Choose one behavior you already repeat unconsciously. Just one. Scrolling when bored. Delaying when uncomfortable. Reacting when challenged. Now replace it. Not with something heroic. With something intentional. Bored? Sit still for 60 seconds. Uncomfortable? Start anyway. Triggered? Pause before responding. That's discipline. Small. Boring. Powerful. That's the key. The mind resists because it wants novelty. But progress loves monotony. The same correct action. Over and over. Until it becomes automatic. Yes, automatic. The goal is not to stay conscious forever. The goal is to build a better autopilot. A controlled one. That's how discipline becomes effortless. Not by removing repetition. By owning it. Unconscious repetition drains you. Conscious repetition frees you. One traps you in the past. The other builds the future. You have a choice. You can keep repeating what feels good now. Or you can repeat what works later. Both are loops. Only one leads forward. This chapter is about responsibility. Not blame. You didn't choose your first patterns. But you are choosing whether they continue. Awareness gave you vision in chapter 1. Now intention gives you direction. Because awareness without intention is observation. Intention without repetition is fantasy. Repeat the right thing. Until it becomes normal. That's how identity changes. You are not what you want. You are what you repeat. And repetition is neutral. Until you choose how to use it. You've learned the truth about repetition. Now it's time to confront what hijacks it every day. Your emotions. You understand the loop. Next, we expose what controls it. Chapter 3, Your emotions are running the system. Most people believe they are logical. They are not. They believe they think first. Then act. But the truth is uncomfortable. They feel first. Then they justify. That's the key. Your emotions fire before your logic even wakes up. Fear. Comfort. Avoidance. These are not feelings. They are commands, if you allow them to be. And most people do. They don't decide their actions. Their emotions decide for them. You have a choice. But emotions hate choice. They prefer impulse. When something feels hard, fear speaks. When something feels boring, comfort speaks. When something feels uncertain, avoidance speaks. And the mind follows. I don't feel ready. That sounds logical. It's not. It's emotional avoidance disguised as intelligence. Say it clearly. I don't feel ready usually means I don't want to feel uncomfortable. That's the system running you. Feelings are signals, not commanders. Read that again. Feelings are signals, not commanders. They are information, not instructions. But when you treat them like orders, you surrender control. And that surrender becomes a habit. Every time you wait to feel motivated before acting, you teach your brain that feelings are in charge. Every time you stop because you feel tired, you reinforce the same rule. Every time you delay because you feel unsure, you hand over authority. That's the loop. It's not about weakness. It's about misplaced leadership. It's not about fear. It's about discipline. That's the key. Strong people feel the same emotions you do. Fear. Doubt. Resistance. The difference is simple. They don't obey them. They feel fear, and act anyway. They feel resistance, and continue. They feel discomfort, and stay present. Not because they are special. Because they trained that response. You can too. You don't need their permission. Not your emotions. Not your pasts. Not anyone's. Your emotions evolve to keep you safe. Not to help you grow. Safety prefers the familiar. Growth requires the unfamiliar. So when you feel discomfort, your system reacts. Not because something is wrong. but because something is new. That's the key. Most people misinterpret emotional signals. Fear means danger, so they stop. Boredom means waste, so they escape. Discomfort means wrong, so they quit. Wrong interpretation. Wrong outcome. Fear often means importance. Boredom often means withdrawal. Discomfort often means growth. Feelings are signals, not commanders. If you obey every feeling, you will never change. Because feelings are designed to preserve the current state. Let that sink in. Your emotions are loyal to who you are now, not to who you want to become. That's why change feels wrong before it feels right. You have a choice. You can continue asking, "How do I feel?" Or you can start asking, "What did I decide?" Decision comes first. Feelings follow later. This is where discipline replaces chaos. Discipline is acting according to decision, not emotion. Discipline is not ignoring feelings. It's overruling them. Calmly. Consistently. Without drama. That's the key. Here is the practical shift. When you feel resistance, don't analyze it. Don't negotiate with it. Don't justify it. Acknowledge it. Then act. I feel resistance, and I will proceed. That single sentence breaks the emotional chain. You don't need to fight your feelings. You need to stop obeying them. There is a difference. Obedience creates weakness. Observation creates control. Watch the feeling. Don't follow it. That's discipline. Most people think emotional control means suppression. It doesn't. It means hierarchy. Feelings are below decisions, not above them. Right now, for most people, the hierarchy is inverted. Emotion decides. Logic explains. Action follows. You must flip it. Decision first. Action second. Feelings adjust last. That's the system. You have a choice. The moment you stop waiting to feel ready, your life accelerates. The moment you stop asking permission from comfort, your standards rise. The moment you stop negotiating with fear, your confidence grows. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for. It's a byproduct of action taken despite feeling. That's the key. This chapter is not telling you to become emotionless. It's telling you to become sovereign. To rule your internal state, instead of being ruled by it. Every time you override a feeling, you strengthen authority. Every time you obey a feeling, you weaken it. Small moments. Repeated daily. That's how emotional control is built. You don't need to conquer fear forever. You need to disobey it today. Just once. Act when you feel resistance. Stay when you feel discomfort. Decide when you feel uncertain. Feelings will protest. Let them. They always do, before they adapt. Because feelings learn too. They learn who is in charge. Feelings are signals, not commanders. You've now seen the system clearly. Your autopilot was running you. Your repetition reinforced it. Your emotions were commanding it. Now you understand the enemy. Next, you must face the most dangerous emotion of all. Not fear. Not doubt. Comfort. You're ready for the truth. Chapter 4. The comfort loop is destroying you slowly. Comfort does not destroy your life in one day. That's why it's dangerous. If comfort ruined you instantly, you would avoid it. But it doesn't. It delays you. Quietly. Patiently. Until years disappear. That's the key. Comfort feels harmless. It feels deserved. It feels logical. Just rest today. Just one more episode. Just skip this once. And nothing bad happens. Today. But tomorrow looks exactly the same. And the next day. And the year after that. Comfort feels safe, but it is expensive. Say it again. Comfort feels safe, but it is expensive. You never pay the price immediately. You pay it later, with regret. Comfort never says, fail. It says, relax. Comfort never says, quit. It says, not now. Comfort never says, give up. It says, you deserve this. And people listen. Because comfort speaks the language of emotion. And emotions have been running the system. That's the loop. You choose ease today. Then you wonder why nothing changes tomorrow. You have a choice. Most people don't realize this truth until it's too late. Comfort does not keep you where you are. It slowly pulls you backward. While you stay still, the world moves forward. And staying still becomes falling behind. That's the cost. Comfort removes urgency. And urgency is the engine of change. Without urgency, discipline dies. Without discipline, repetition collapses. Without repetition, identity never changes. That's the chain. Comfort is not the opposite of pain. It's the opposite of progress. It's not about laziness. It's about discipline. That's the key. Look closely at your daily choices. Do you do what's easy, or what's required? Do you stop when it gets uncomfortable, or when it's complete? Do you rest because you need it, or because you want relief? Those answers tell the truth. Comfort trains you to avoid effort. Avoidance trains you to fear effort. Fear trains you to stay small. And the loop tightens. Comfort doesn't shout. It whispers. You'll start tomorrow. You'll fix it later. You're still young. You have time. And one day, you don't. That's the trap. You don't need their permission. Not comfort's. Not fears. Not anyone's. You don't need to feel uncomfortable to grow forever. You need to choose discomfort consistently. There's a difference. Discomfort chosen creates strength. Discomfort avoided creates weakness. Comfort chosen creates stagnation. Comfort avoided creates momentum. That's the key. Most people believe comfort is a reward. It's not. Comfort is a tool. Used too early, it weakens you. Used intentionally, it restores you. But most people reverse the order. They seek comfort before effort, before discipline, before execution. That order guarantees regret. Effort first, comfort later. That's the correct sequence. And yes, it feels wrong at first. Because your system is addicted to ease. Addiction doesn't look dramatic. It looks normal. Scrolling, snacking, delaying, escaping. Small comforts. Repeated daily. That's how ambition dies quietly. Comfort feels safe, but it is expensive. You pay with lost potential. With unused ability. With a life that could have been more. And the worst part? Comfort convinces you that this is balance. It's not balance. It's avoidance dressed up as self-care. True self-care is doing what your future self needs. Not what your present self wants. That's discipline. You have a choice. You can choose the discomfort of action now. Or the discomfort of regret later. Both hurt. One builds you. One destroys you. Comfort delays pain, but multiplies it. Discipline creates pain, but ends it. That's the key. Here is the practical shift. Start noticing when comfort speaks. Right before you quit. Right before you delay. Right before you escape. That moment matters. When you hear, "I'll do it later." Pause. Ask one question. What would discipline do right now? Then do that. Not perfectly. Not heroically. Immediately. That is how the comfort loop breaks. You don't break it with motivation. You break it with standards. Standards remove negotiation. Negotiation invites comfort. And comfort always wins negotiations. That's why discipline must be non-negotiable. Fixed wake-up times. Fixed work blocks. Fixed rules under pressure. No discussion. No debate. You have a choice, but not in the moment of action. The choice is made before. That's the key. Comfort is seductive because it offers relief without effort. But relief without effort leads to emptiness. Effort without relief leads to burnout. So the solution is not extremes. The solution is order. Effort first. Recovery later. Work first. Rest earned. That order builds respect for yourself. And self-respect is the fuel of discipline. Comfort destroys self-respect. Discipline builds it. Every time you choose the hard thing, you tell yourself, "I can be trusted." Every time you choose comfort instead, you tell yourself, "I can't." And the identity follows the message. That's the loop. This chapter is not asking you to live in pain. It's asking you to stop living in delay. Stop confusing ease with peace. Peace comes from progress, not from avoidance. You've now seen how comfort quietly keeps you stuck. You understand the trap. You feel the cost. But comfort is only one weapon. There is another pattern that keeps the loop alive. And it feels even more reasonable. Delay. You're ready for the next truth. Chapter 5, Procrastination is a decision, not a flaw. Procrastination is not a personality trait. It's not a flaw. It's not laziness. It's a decision. Say it clearly. Delay is a decision. Own it. Most people procrastinate and then lie to themselves about why. They say they're tired. They say they're busy. They say they need the right mood. None of that is true. They are choosing relief now over respect later. That's the key. Procrastination is emotional regulation failure. It's the inability to sit with discomfort without escaping. The task feels heavy, so you avoid it. Avoidance brings relief. Relief feels good. For a moment. Then comes the bill. Guilt. Stress. Pressure. Self-disgust. That's the loop. You delay to feel better now. And feel worse later. You have a choice. You can feel discomfort now and earn peace later. Or feel relief now and pay with anxiety later. Both are decisions. Only one builds you. Delay is a decision. Own it. When you procrastinate, you are not stuck. You are choosing comfort. When you say later, you are voting for the same outcome. When you say tomorrow, you are extending the loop. And the mind learns quickly. It learns that discomfort can be escaped. It learns that pressure can be postponed. It learns that decisions are optional. That's dangerous. Because discipline is built on immediacy. And procrastination destroys immediacy. That's the key. Most people don't procrastinate everything. They procrastinate the same types of things. Things that require focus. Things that expose weakness. Things that demand responsibility. Notice that. They don't delay entertainment. They don't delay scrolling. They don't delay pleasure. They delay growth. That's not accidental. Procrastination protects your ego. If you don't try, you don't fail. If you don't start, you don't face reality. But protection has a cost. It keeps you small. It's not about laziness. It's about discipline. Say it again. It's not about laziness. It's about discipline. Discipline is not working harder. It's acting before the mind starts negotiating. Because the mind is a skilled negotiator. Just 5 more minutes. You deserve a break. You'll do better later. Those are not thoughts. They are escape routes. And every time you take one, you strengthen the habit of delay. Delay is a decision. Own it. You don't need their permission. Not your feelings. Not your thoughts. Not your pasts. You decide when action begins. Here's the shift. Stop asking, how do I feel about this? Start asking, what did I commit to? Commitment overrides emotion. Emotion overrides commitment only when allowed. That's the key. Procrastination thrives in vague plans. I'll work on it later. I'll start soon. I'll get to it. Vagueness invites delay. Clarity kills procrastination. Specific time. Specific action. No debate. Today at 6, I start. Not I'll try. Trying is optional. Starting is decisive. Most people wait to feel motivated. That's backwards. Motivation follows action. Not the other way around. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates motivation. Waiting creates stagnation. You have a choice. Act while uncomfortable. Or wait until comfortable and never move. Comfort is not a prerequisite for progress. It's the enemy of it. That's the key. Here is the practical rule. When you feel the urge to delay, do not analyze it. Analysis feeds procrastination. Instead, reduce the task. Not tomorrow. Now. Open the document. Write one sentence. Stand up. Begin. Action, not perfection. Perfectionism is just procrastination in a suit. I want to do it right. No. You want to avoid starting. Start badly. Improve later. Execution beats intention. Every time. Delay is a decision. Own it. The moment you take responsibility for delay, you regain control. Because blaming circumstances removes power. Owning decisions restores it. You don't need a new system. You need a rule. When it's time, you act. No discussion. No mood check. No emotional weather report. Action first. Feelings adapt later. That's discipline. Discipline is boring. And that's why it works. Procrastination feels exciting. Because it creates drama. I'll catch up later. I work better under pressure. No, you panic under pressure. That panic is the tax you pay for delay. And you pay it repeatedly. This chapter is not asking you to eliminate procrastination forever. That's unrealistic. It's asking you to stop pretending it's accidental. Every delay is a choice. Once you see that, you can choose differently. One task. One moment. One decision. That's how the loop breaks. You don't need to fix your life. You need to stop postponing it. You've now exposed procrastination for what it is. A decision. Not a flaw. But there is something even more dangerous than delay. Negotiation. Because procrastination often starts with a conversation in your head. And that conversation always favors weakness. You're ready for the next truth. Chapter 6, You keep negotiating with weakness. Every time you hesitate, a conversation starts. A quiet one. Inside your head. It sounds reasonable. Polite. Harmless. Just today. I'll start tomorrow. I deserve a break. That conversation is not neutral. It is not logical. It is weakness asking for control. And most people say yes. That's the key. Strong minds do not negotiate. They execute. The moment you negotiate, you lose. Say it again. The moment you negotiate, you lose. Negotiation gives weakness a seat at the table. And once it's seated, it never leaves quietly. Because weakness doesn't want compromise. It wants dominance. Every internal debate strengthens it. Every excuse validates it. Every delay feeds it. You think you're being flexible. You're being trained. Trained to hesitate. Trained to delay. Trained to betray your own standards. You have a choice. You can negotiate, or you can decide. Decision ends discussion. Negotiation invites chaos. That's the difference. Weakness doesn't show up screaming. It whispers. It's been a long day. You've earned rest. Missing one day won't matter. And it's convincing. Because it uses truth selectively. Yes, you worked hard. Yes, rest matters. Yes, one day won't ruin everything. But here's the truth weakness hides. One day becomes a pattern. Patterns become identity. Identity becomes destiny. That's the cost. The moment you negotiate, you lose. Strong people feel the same urges. They just don't engage them. They don't argue with fatigue. They don't debate resistance. They don't reason with excuses. They acknowledge and move. I hear you. And we're doing it anyway. That's discipline. It's not about willpower. It's about rules. Rules remove negotiation. When you have rules, there is no discussion. There is execution. That's the key. Most people don't fail because they lack strength. They fail because they allow conversation. Conversation drains energy. Decision preserves it. Every debate costs you momentum. Think about it. How many times have you spent more energy deciding whether to act than the action itself would have required? That's weakness winning. You don't need their permission. Not your emotions. Not your thoughts. Not anyone's. You don't need to convince yourself to act. You need to stop asking for approval. Here is the practical shift. Replace negotiation with commands. Not, should I? But, I will. Not, maybe later. But, now. Not, I deserve a break. But, finish first. Commands shut weakness down. Questions invite it in. That's the key. Negotiation feels intelligent. Execution feels blunt. But blunt action beats clever delay every time. Weakness is clever. Discipline is simple. Simple rules. Simple actions. Repeated daily. Most people try to outthink weakness. You can't. Weakness is emotional. It doesn't care about logic. So stop debating it. Outrun it. Move before the mind warms up. Start before resistance speaks. Act before doubt organizes itself. Speed kills negotiation. That's discipline. You have a choice. When the urge to delay appears, you can sit with it, or override it. Override it once, and the next time gets easier. Negotiate once, and the next time gets harder. Because habits are reinforced, not reasoned away. The moment you negotiate, you lose. Let's be precise. Negotiation always begins with language. Listen to your words. Just this once. I'll make up for it. I'm not feeling it today. Those phrases are alarms. Not explanations. The second you hear them, act. Not after. Not soon. Immediately. Action is the antidote. Weakness hates action. Because action removes its voice. Once you start, the argument ends. That's the key. This chapter is not telling you to be harsh. It's telling you to be clear. Clarity eliminates negotiation. Clear standards. Clear times. Clear non-negotiables. I train at this hour. I work when it's scheduled. I finish what I start. No mood checks. No emotional voting. That's how authority is built, internally. And authority feels like confidence. Not because you feel strong, but because you act despite feeling weak. Confidence is earned through obedience to decision, not through comfort. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Say it. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Every time you execute without negotiation, you tell yourself the truth. I can be trusted. That trust compounds. And when self-trust grows, weakness loses leverage. Because weakness thrives on doubt. Doubt about whether you'll follow through. Doubt about whether you'll keep your word. Remove doubt. And weakness starves. You don't need to win every battle forever. You need to win the next one. One decision. One execution. No discussion. That's how momentum is built. You've now seen the pattern. Autopilot ran you. Repetition trapped you. Emotions commanded you. Comfort delayed you. Procrastination disguised choice. Negotiation handed power to weakness. Now you must face something deeper. The core of the loop. Identity. Because even when habits change, identity can pull you back. You're ready for the next truth. Chapter 7, Identity is the real loop. You don't act based on goals. You act based on identity. Read that again. You don't act based on goals. You act based on who you believe you are. That's the key. Goals are wishes. Identity is law. You can set the best goals in the world. If they conflict with your identity, identity wins. Every time. This is why people change for a week, then snap back. They try to change behavior without changing who they believe they are. And identity always pulls behavior back into alignment. That's the loop. You don't break habits. You replace identities. Say it clearly. You don't break habits. You replace identities. Look at the language you use. I'm not disciplined. I'm bad at consistency. I always procrastinate. That's just how I am. Those are not observations. They are commands. Every time you repeat them, you reinforce the same behavior. The mind's job is to stay consistent with identity. Not with goals. Not with intentions. With identity. So when you say, I'm not disciplined, your brain looks for proof. And it finds it. Missed workouts. Delayed tasks. Broken promises. Not because you're weak, but because you're being consistent with who you think you are. That's the trap. Identity is a loop. And it's the strongest one. You have a choice. You can keep reinforcing the old identity. Or you can begin installing a new one. But first, you must stop lying to yourself. Most people think identity is fixed. It's not. Identity is just repeated evidence. Whatever you do consistently, your brain labels as who you are. That's it. No magic. No personality test. No destiny. Just repetition. That's the key. You don't need to become a new person overnight. You need to stop confirming the old one. Every time you say, I'm not disciplined, you give yourself permission to act undisciplined. Every time you say, I always fail, you lower the standard before you even begin. Words matter. Not because they're motivational, but because they shape expectation. Expectation shapes action. Action shapes identity. That's the loop. You don't need their permission. Not your past's. Not your history's. Not anyone's. Your past behavior explains your current identity. It does not define your future one. But here's the hard truth. You cannot think your way into a new identity. You must act your way into it. Identity changes through evidence. Small. Boring. Repeated. That's discipline. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Say it again. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Here is the practical shift. Stop asking, who am I? Start asking, what would a disciplined person do next? Then do that. Once. That's it. You don't need to feel like that person. You need to behave like them. Feeling comes later. Every time you act in alignment with the new identity, you deposit evidence. One action won't change identity. 10 won't either. But repetition will. And repetition is already your strength. You just used it unconsciously before. Now you use it deliberately. That's the key. Let's be precise. Identity is not changed by big promises. It's changed by kept ones. Tiny ones. I said I would start, and I did. I said I would finish, and I did. I said I would show up, and I did. Those moments matter more than motivation ever will. They build self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of identity. Most people don't trust themselves. Because they've broken too many small promises. So they rely on emotion. On mood. On inspiration. That's unstable. Discipline restores trust. Every time you follow through, even when it's uncomfortable, you send a message. I can be trusted. And the brain listens. You don't need to declare a new identity. You need to demonstrate it. Quietly. Without announcing it. Without posting it. Without seeking validation. Strong identities are built in silence. That's the key. This is why negotiation with weakness was so dangerous. Because it preserved the old identity. I'm the kind of person who gives in. I'm the kind of person who delays. Now you know better. Identity is not who you are. It's who you keep proving yourself to be. And proof is created through action. You have a choice. Today, you can reinforce the old story. Or you can write a new one. Not with words. With behavior. Choose one standard. One non-negotiable. Show up when you don't feel like it. Finish when it gets boring. Act when you'd normally delay. That single action contradicts the old identity. Do it again tomorrow. And the next day. Identity will shift. Not dramatically. Inevitably. You don't break habits. You replace identities. Once identity changes, habits follow automatically. Because behavior wants to match belief. This chapter closes the core loop. Autopilot. Repetition. Emotion. Comfort. Delay. Negotiation. All of it was feeding one thing. Identity. Now you know where real change happens. But awareness alone is not enough. You must catch the loop in real time. In the moment. Before it completes. That's what comes next. You've changed how you see yourself. Now you must change how you see the moment. You're ready. Chapter 8, Awareness breaks the cycle. The loop does not break when you decide to change your life. It breaks in the moment. The moment you catch yourself mid-pattern. That's the key. Most people think change happens in big decisions. It doesn't. It happens in small interruptions. Right before you react. Right before you quit. Right before you escape. That moment is everything. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates control. Say it again. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates control. Before awareness, there is no choice. Only reaction. After awareness, choice appears. And choice is power. You have a choice. Most people live inside their habits without seeing them. They are inside the loop, not observing it. They don't notice the urge. They just obey it. Scroll. Quit. Delay. React. No pause. No space. That's why nothing changes. You cannot break what you cannot see. Awareness is not motivation. It's not positivity. It's not mindset. It's noticing. Noticing the urge. Noticing the thought. Noticing the pull. Without acting on it. That's discipline. Most people misunderstand awareness. They think awareness means overthinking. It doesn't. It means catching the moment before action. I want to quit. Pause. I want to delay. Pause. I want to react. Pause. That pause weakens the loop. Because the loop depends on speed. Reaction is fast. Awareness slows things down. And speed is weakness's advantage. That's the key. The moment you see the pattern, you step outside it. You are no longer the habit. You are the observer. And the observer has options. You don't need their permission. Not your emotions. Not your impulses. Not anyone's. You just need to see clearly. Let's be practical. You feel the urge to quit. Not later. Right now. Your body tightens. Your mind gives reasons. Your emotions push. This is where most people lose. They argue with the feeling. They justify it. They obey it. Wrong approach. Instead, name it. This is the urge to quit. That's it. No judgment. No story. Just naming. That single act creates distance. And distance creates control. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates control. Once you name the urge, it stops being you. It becomes something passing through you. And what passes can be allowed to pass. You don't need to fight the urge. You need to stop identifying with it. This is where strength actually comes from. Not force. Not suppression. Clarity. Most people think discipline means forcing yourself. It doesn't. It means seeing clearly enough to choose. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Say it. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Awareness gives you the power to act despite feeling. Not because the feeling disappeared, but because you didn't obey it. That's real control. Here's the example. You're working. The urge to quit appears. Awareness notices. I want to stop. Now comes the choice. You can obey. Or you can stay. Not forever. Just for the next minute. Stay. That single minute breaks the loop. Because the loop expects obedience. When it doesn't get it, it weakens. And the next time, it weakens faster. That's how patterns die. Not dramatically. Gradually. Through awareness. You have a choice. Every urge is an invitation. Not a command. An invitation to repeat the past. Or to create a new future. Awareness shows you the invitation. Discipline decides whether you accept it. Without awareness, there is no invitation. Just automatic acceptance. That's the difference. Most people try to change habits by force. They fail. Why? Because force doesn't last. Awareness does. Force exhausts you. Awareness empowers you. You don't need to win every urge. You need to notice every urge. Winning comes naturally after. Because once you see the pattern, it loses its invisibility. And invisible forces are the most dangerous ones. Awareness turns invisible enemies into visible ones. And visible enemies can be handled. That's the key. This chapter is not asking you to be mindful all day. It's asking you to be aware at critical moments. The moments that matter. Before reaction. Before delay. Before escape. Those moments shape identity. Every time you notice and stay, you prove something to yourself. I am not controlled. That proof accumulates. And identity shifts. You don't need to change your whole life. You need to catch the loop once today. Just once. Notice the urge. Pause. Choose differently. That's enough. Tomorrow, do it again. Awareness is a muscle. The more you use it, the faster it activates. Eventually, you'll notice urges earlier. Before they gain momentum. And that's when real freedom begins. Because freedom is not doing what you want. It's choosing despite what you feel. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates control. You've now learned how to see the loop. Not conceptually, but practically. But awareness alone is not enough. Seeing the loop breaks it momentarily. But to rebuild your life, you need consistency. Small decisions. Repeated daily. That's where lasting change is built. You're ready for the next truth. You can see clearly now. Next, you must act consistently. Chapter 9, Small Decisions Rewire the Loop. Most people wait for a massive moment to change their lives. That moment rarely comes. Real change is quiet. Unimpressive. Built from small decisions that no one applauds. That's the key. Massive change is built through small, repeated correct decisions. Not big motivation. Not intense bursts. Not dramatic promises. Small decisions. Repeated daily. Consistency beats intensity. Every time. Say it again. Consistency beats intensity. Every time. Intensity feels powerful. But it burns out. Consistency feels boring. But it rewires identity. You don't rise because of one heroic effort. You rise because you showed up when it didn't matter, and kept doing it. That's discipline. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Say it. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Look at how most people approach change. They wait until they feel motivated. They wait until they have energy. They wait until conditions are perfect. That's why they fail. Discipline does not wait for readiness. It acts under resistance. Showing up when tired. Starting when unmotivated. Continuing when bored. Those moments don't feel powerful. But they are. Because they train the system. Your brain learns one thing above all else. What you do repeatedly. Not what you plan. Not what you intend. What you actually do. That's the key. Every small decision sends a signal. I showed up. I followed through. I didn't quit. Those signals accumulate. And accumulation is transformation. You have a choice. You can keep chasing intensity, or you can build consistency. Intensity asks, how much can I do today? Consistency asks, what can I repeat tomorrow? That question changes everything. Most people fail because they overestimate what intensity can do, and underestimate what consistency compounds into. One workout doesn't change your body. One focused session doesn't change your career. One disciplined day doesn't change your life. But 100 do. And 100 are built one at a time. That's the truth. Consistency beats intensity. Every time. Here's the practical rule. Lower the bar. But raise the standard. Lower the bar of effort, so it's repeatable. Raise the standard of follow-through, so it's non-negotiable. That's discipline. You don't need to do more. You need to quit less. You don't need to push harder. You need to show up longer. You don't need their permission. Not your moods. Not your energies. Not anyone's. You just need to act. Most people stop because they feel nothing. They confuse lack of emotion with lack of progress. Wrong. Progress is often invisible in the beginning. That's why discipline matters. Discipline works when motivation is silent. That's the key. Let's be clear. Small decisions rewire the loop because they change identity. Every time you act despite resistance, you weaken the old identity. Every time you follow through, you strengthen the new one. Not in one day. Over time. And time only works for you if you stay consistent. That's why quitting is so damaging. Quitting resets momentum. Consistency compounds it. You have a choice. You can stop when you feel tired. Or you can do the minimum and continue. The minimum counts. 10 minutes counts. 1 page counts. 1 rep counts. Because the action matters more than the scale. Action reinforces identity. That's the key. Most people believe discipline is about doing a lot. It's not. It's about doing the right thing. Even when you don't feel like it. Consistently. The feeling doesn't matter. The action does. Feelings are temporary. Habits are permanent. Consistency turns effort into habit. Habit turns action into default. And default behavior builds your life. That's how the loop is rewired. This chapter is not asking you to become extreme. It's asking you to become reliable. Reliable to yourself. Stop making promises you can't keep. Start keeping promises that are small. That builds trust. And self-trust is the fuel of discipline. Every kept promise tells your brain, I follow through. Every broken promise says, I don't. Identity listens. Consistency beats intensity. Every time. You don't need to feel proud every day. You need to be consistent every day. Pride comes later. Discipline first. Results second. Emotion last. That order never fails. You've now learned how to act. Not once, but repeatedly. You understand awareness. You understand consistency. Now there is only one step left. To design the loop on purpose. Because if you don't design your system, your old patterns will. You're ready to close the loop for good. You've learned how habits change. Now it's time to build them intentionally. Chapter 10, Build a new loop on purpose. If you don't design your life, your old patterns will. That's the truth. You don't drift into discipline. You don't stumble into consistency. You don't accidentally build a better life. You build it on purpose. That's the key. Everything you learned so far leads here. Awareness showed you the loop. Consistency weakened it. Identity shifted. Now you must replace it. Not with motivation. Not with hope. With systems. You don't rise to goals. You fall to systems. Say it again. You don't rise to goals. You fall to systems. Goals are direction. Systems are execution. Goals inspire. Systems decide. Most people fail because they set goals. And keep the same systems. Same mornings. Same distractions. Same defaults. Different goals. Same life. That never works. You have a choice. You can keep relying on willpower, or you can remove the need for it. That's what systems do. A system is a decision made once. That saves you from making it again. Fixed routines. Non-negotiable actions. Disciplined defaults. No debate. No emotion check. No negotiation. That's discipline in its most powerful form. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Say it. It's not about flaw. It's about discipline. Let's be practical. A destructive loop survives because it's easy. It has no friction. Wake up. Phone. Scroll. Delay. Zero resistance. To build a new loop, you reverse this. You increase friction for bad habits. You reduce friction for good ones. That's systems thinking. Want to stop scrolling in the morning? Phone stays outside the room. Want to work consistently? Work time is fixed. Same hour. Same place. Want to train even when tired? Clothes laid out the night before. No thinking. No choice. You don't need their permission. Not your moods. Not your energies. Not anyone's. The system decides for you. That's the key. Strong people don't rely on self-control. They rely on structure. Self-control is limited. Structure is reliable. When action is the default, discipline becomes automatic. This is how you replace the loop. Same repetition. New direction. You don't eliminate repetition. You redirect it. Every day repeats anyway. So you decide what repeats. Same wake-up time. Same work block. Same shutdown routine. Boring? Yes. Effective? Absolutely. Because boring systems beat exciting intentions. You have a choice. You can design your days. Or let them design you. Systems remove drama. Drama feeds failure. When you know what happens next, you don't argue. You execute. That's discipline. Most people want freedom. They resist structure. But structure creates freedom. Because once the basics are handled automatically, your mind is free for what matters. Clarity. Creativity. Growth. Chaos steals that. You don't rise to goals. You fall to systems. Here's the rule. If a behavior is important, it must be scheduled. Not when I feel like it. Not when I have time. Scheduled. If it's not scheduled, it's optional. Optional behaviors disappear under pressure. Systems survive pressure. That's the key. Non-negotiables matter. Decide in advance. I work at this time. I train on these days. I shut down at this hour. No exceptions for mood. No exceptions for comfort. Exceptions recreate the old loop. Remember, the moment you negotiate, you lose. Systems eliminate negotiation. This chapter is not asking you to become rigid. It's asking you to become intentional. You can adjust systems. You don't abandon them. Miss a day? Resume immediately. No guilt. No spiral. Systems forgive quickly. Because they are bigger than one moment. That's why they work long term. You have a choice. You can keep restarting your life every Monday? Or you can build something that runs even when you don't feel strong. Systems don't care how you feel. They execute anyway. That's what makes them powerful. And here's the final truth. Your life is already a system. It just wasn't designed by you. Now it will be. One routine. One rule. One default at a time. You don't need to change everything today. You need to decide one system. Just one. Lock it in. Repeat it. Protect it. That's how the new loop becomes permanent. You don't rise to goals. You fall to systems. And now, you choose the system. This is where the loop ends. And where your life actually begins. You have a choice. Make it. You now know the truth. Nothing has been holding you back except repetition without awareness. You don't need confidence. You don't need motivation. You need control. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you weaken the old loop. Every time you act without negotiating, you build a new one. Your life will not change in one day. But it will change the moment your decisions do. So here is the challenge. Today, break the loop once. Just once. Act when you normally delay. Stay calm when you normally react. Choose discipline where you usually choose comfort. Do that daily, and your entire life will be forced to change. You have a choice. Make it.